Hello, friends. Today I want to tell you an amazing story about kindness that happened in a small Italian town. The Maldini family lived there. The family consisted of only 3 people, a mother and 2 daughters, Santa and Francesca. The girl's mother had worked her entire life in a very hazardous job, and therefore by the age of 38, her health had deteriorated rapidly and she became very sick. Her joints bothered her very much, so the woman had difficulty getting out of bed and could no longer work as before. The eldest daughter, Santa, realizing that her mother would no longer be able to provide for their family, decided to take on the responsibility, and leaving school, the girl started working as a housekeeper. The girl was very smart and very quickly earned the trust of the owners of one house. They paid her generously, especially knowing her difficult situation at home. In addition to her salary, the owner gave Santa a bag of groceries every day so that she could feed her mother and her younger sister. The girl saw that one could achieve success in life if one studied well. Every day, she told her little sister Francesca about the importance of education. She told her how she would like to go to school, but she needed to help their mom, so Francesca would study for both of them. As time went on, Francesca studied very well, graduating from high school with honors and going on to college where she graduated with honors. When she left for the city to begin her career, she didn't return for her sister or her mother, but seemed to abandon them to their fate. Santa grew up to be a real beauty. Secretly, of course, she regretted that she had not been able to study, but accepted the circumstances for what they were. At this time, the only son of the household she worked for, Paolo, returned home. Paolo was a contract soldier who earned decent money and at first sight fell in love with the modest and hardworking girl in his parents' home. Santa likewise immediately fell for him, too. The soldier's mother did not approve of their relationship. Yes, she loved Santa, but the woman certainly did not want to see her as her daughter-in-law. She was looking for a wife suitable for him in status and not a simple housekeeper for her son. But Paolo's father approved of the relationship, reminding his wife that the most important thing was that they loved each other and everything else would follow. Paolo had already accumulated some savings by that time and was able to buy a large house for Santa and himself. After the wedding, the newlyweds moved to their new home and spent every possible minute with each other. They made plans for the future, even talking about children. Unfortunately, their plans were not destined to happen. Paolo received an order of deployment to help with the country's ongoing war, and he was quickly taken to the front lines. He didn't return home. Santa grieved for her beloved husband. The man's father and mother decided to take their daughter-in-law into their home so that she wouldn't be so lonely in a huge house. The mother, who still couldn't accept Santa as a daughter, continued asking her to clean their home. Soon after, Santa's mother died, and her sister did not even attend her mother's funeral. Santa continued to grieve loss after loss in her family. Soon her father-in-law died, and his wife not long after. Santa was left to live alone in their house. 6 months later, other relatives appeared, claiming the inheritance. She decided not to enter into any litigation with them. She moved to the house that her husband Paolo had bought for them years before. The house was empty all this time, and there was a lot of work to be done. She knew she could not pay for the house. Once again, she became a housekeeper. One day, walking home after a long day at work, Santa was walking through the park. It was raining hard. Under one of the trees, she saw 3 little children. They were sitting huddled together and barely managing to hide from the rain. When asked what they were doing there, the children replied that their mother had left them there. Santa felt sorry for these children, imagining them happily running around her large and empty home. Her mind was quickly made up, and she guided all 3 of the cold and wet children home. She took them in, dried them off, fed them, clothed them, and gave them warm blankets for the night. She told them that they were welcome in her home any time they needed. They spent most nights with Santa in her home. Then Santa decided that it was not good for the children to be left without an education. She remortgaged the house, took out a large loan, and paid for the education of all 3. After some time, the biological mother of these children passed away, and Santa, having gone through several different measures and legal obstacles, was able to adopt the 3 siblings. Eventually, all 3 graduated school, and with the eldest leading the way, they all moved to the city to begin their adult lives. Santa was alone again in her large and empty house. She still had a huge debt for the education of her adopted children, so she continued working diligently to pay off the loan. One day, her doorbell rang. Santa opened the door, seeing an unfamiliar young woman standing on the threshold. She said that Santa was recommended to her by her neighbors as a very conscientious and decent cleaning lady. She asked the woman to clean her large house because she had no one else to ask. Santa agreed with pleasure. She was not in a position to turn away decent pay. On the day scheduled for cleaning, an elderly Santa arrived at the indicated address. It turned out to be a very large and beautiful house with a wrought iron fence and beautiful gates. Entering the property, the woman saw a beautiful fountain and a bench under a large shade tree. The woman thought of how pleasant it would be to sit here on a hot, sunny day with a cup of tea. But she had to work, so the woman rang the doorbell, but when the door opened, the woman stood in surprise. She had never expected to see them there. Her children opened the door. After moving to the city, they worked very hard and saved money, and when the necessary amount was accumulated, they all bought this luxurious home together just for their mother. They told her that they would take care of all the maintenance of the house so that she no longer had to work. She could fully rest and enjoy her life. The woman stood and cried with happiness. She never expected that someday someone would take care of her. All her life, she took care of other people. She received such a wonderful gift from her children and was the one being taken care of for a change. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the like button, write your opinion in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and click on the bell so you don't miss our new stories.